What's up, people? We finally back in the building. Yes, it's been a minute since we've been with y'all, but the Engage podcast is back, and I know y'all kind of wonder what's going on. No, we did not drop one of our band members. He is not dropped. He just run a little bit late, so he's gonna check in with us a little bit later on and get caught up in with us. But we're gonna do a quick check in, then we're gonna kind of recap some things. But first, boy, what's going on with you, man? What's the latest with you, and then we'll kind of talk about the show topics.
Yeah, I'm chilling right now. It's good to be back with you. It feels like it's been too long since we had a conversation and have been able to connect and just get on here and talk about education and what it's been like over the last couple months. As a plug, make sure that you follow us on Twitter at Engage Podcast. You can also follow us our Facebook page and YouTube. Just connect with us, like and share, do all those things so we can get a larger reach and connect more folks to this free PD that we got going on. But everything has been good, man. It was a wild ride to finish out the school year. I'm feeling good. Been off a few days now, and just excited to get the opportunity to reset, recharge, and come back better than ever next school year. How about you, man? What's been going on?
It's been a wild ride, finishing up the school year, the whole COVID thing, which we'll touch upon a little bit later. But my year ended crazy because I was trying to finish up the school year, still having some kids all virtual and then having some of our kids in the building 4 days a week. And then also trying to get summer school up and running. So probably about 2 weeks before school year ended, the summer person that was going to be the summer school principal had a family situation come up. So they came to me and asked would I, help run summer school this summer. So I was like, yeah. So I kind of jumped in, full force with 2 weeks to go and kind of got everything up and running. So it was a hectic, whirlwind of a year. And now we're finally wrapping up summer school. So actually Friday's our last day. So I'm looking forward to kind of wrapping that up and getting about a good, about a month off before I have to be back to the grind for next school year. I'm looking forward to it, having the time off. So also, this is kind of really our 1 year anniversary episode. Last year, we kicked off the show on Juneteenth, so we're still just a couple days removed from Juneteenth. So, let's talk a little bit, just I guess a little bit about, what does Juneteenth mean to you? What do you think compared to last year to this year? A little bit about that as well. So, what's your thoughts on that?
It was definitely interesting to see the Juneteenth become a national holiday. I've got mixed feelings about that. I felt, because I've known about Juneteenth, not my whole life. We really started celebrating when I was in high school. 25 years or so that I've been aware of what Juneteenth was all about. June 19th, 1865, General rolls into Galveston, Texas, and lets the enslaved people know that, hey, y'all are free. And just it's always been a time for celebration, cookouts, just enjoying the freedom that we have, and that's how I got connected to Juneteenth as a high schooler within my community. But it's always it's always been something special, and for the fact that for us to over 1 year period, we talked about Juneteenth, celebrating Black History Month every month of the year. This time last year, it is great for it to be a national holiday, but at the same time, it was something special for us. I felt like, and on the 19th, I was able to be in Oakland at Lake Merrick for those people that know the town. And it was just good, because really California, we just opened up really. And so, it was always a party down at Lake Merritt, and just to see folks with their booths up, being able to enjoy, folks' company. It's always good to be able to reflect on, the freedoms that we have, and all the memes that were out on social media, free-ish since 1865. It's so real. It's so real. Where we find ourselves today. I mean, you look at the news and look at the rallies that have been happening over the last couple of days around CRT. I mean, that's another conversation. But the bottom line is it's great to have that celebration and the opportunity to do that recognized on a national level. So that's where I'm at. What about your thoughts, Doc?
I mean, it's crazy how, the difference a year makes. You remember last year when we kicked off the show on Juneteenth, there was a lot of civil unrest and protests going on around the country. And I went back and kind of looked at that show and looked at some of the notes and things like that from the show. And the one thing that stuck out to me that I remember saying a year ago is, after all the buildings is done being burned down and after y'all done marching and doing all that, what is the platform you going to stand on that's going to really force change? And I feel like a year later, we still have not established that platform, even though now Juneteenth is a national holiday. The things that we've been asking for, stop police brutality, police reform, reparations, any number of other things that we've asked for, it's kind of got looked by the wayside, lynching laws, voting rights. There's a plethora of things that we were asking for. And the one thing that they got out of this, that I don't even call it low hanging fruit. I'm talking about the fruit that's already fell on the ground, was let's make Juneteenth a federal holiday. And one of the things, one of my homegirls that I was rapping about, we was last week about it, what she said was pretty much, it's like giving a kid a piece of candy to appease them because you don't want to take them to Disney World. So I'm gonna give you this candy because I'm to trick you to come out and make you happy in this moment. But this bigger thing that you're looking for, we ain't trying to talk about that. We ain't trying to really hear for that. So, is it being, are they making a national holiday to really commercialize it? Now, so you can get your freest shirts from Walmart, you can get your freest shirts off of Amazon and things like that there. Because Juneteenth has been celebrated by Black people for decades, so it's not something new for us, and it's almost one of those things is like, do we need to invite everybody to the cookout? Do everybody got to come to the cookout?
Nope.
Why couldn't this just be like we didn't even ask for Juneteenth to be a holiday? Wasn't nobody out there protesting, marching about nothing about that. So that's kind of how I feel about it. It's just the difference a year make that all the stuff that we asked for, protested for, they weren't trying to hear none of that. They try to spin it in a negative way. And the one thing that I really one of the memes that I seen that really resonated with me was you want to make Juneteenth a national holiday, but yet you want to ban the teaching of why it is a holiday. So how does that even make sense at the end of the day? Technically right now, and I think they say like in 15 states, you can't even teach CRT. So it's crazy how things have changed around in that quick year though. And I do want to say, shout out to two of the aunties that's in the place, Auntie Elaine, Auntie Toya, who's in the building.
Yeah, for sure. And just to follow up, I mean, I will give a shout out to, those that there have been, folks that lived through, the civil rights struggle that have been advocating. I think the bill was put on sent to Congress about a year ago to make Juneteenth a national holiday. And so, there are people that have been advocating for that. And so that's part of the reason why I want to give it its due, because there are folks that were on the ground working hard, and I forget the auntie's name. I'm looking for it right now. That was a huge advocate for
Elaine.
No, not the auntie, not the aunties.
Oh, there's some other aunties out there. I thought
there's some other aunties out there. But the bottom line is folks have been advocating for it, but the voices haven't been as loud as those that want the voting rights reform, that want to end police brutality, that want reparations and those types of things. And so I give credit to those folks that have done that and that have put that work in. But at the same time, just like you said, I mean, should we be inviting everybody to the cookout? Can we have anything that's ours? Because it seems like everything that we do, everything that we support, being about that culture gets taken over, gets rebranded and utilized for someone else's benefit and profit. I mean, right now, June is Pride Month, and you got, all of a sudden, all these, I won't say all of a sudden, but a lot of companies, making their statements. Like, why aren't we making these types of statements and showing the support year round? it is important to have these months to acknowledge folks, but we should be doing this. This should be just a part of who we are, because we have such a diverse country and culture. And it's just like you said, there's folks out there that want to deny folks, that don't want us to teach our history. I mean, that's why we're at where we're at, because folks don't want to face the reality that's existed, for the hundreds of years, that our country's existed.
And the crazy thing, is that the same people that voted to make this a federal holiday last Thursday, literally 4 days later or 5 days later on Tuesday, voted down the voter laws, the voter reform stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, and the only reason we're trying to do that is because of the suppression that's going on in a lot of states. So it's crazy, like I said, how you can be all rah, rah, rah for something that doesn't really have no impact. Because like I said, we've been celebrating Juneteenth, we'll continue to celebrate Juneteenth, but yet the things that we need or would like to see done that doesn't develop impact, you ain't trying to address or hear that or whatever. So,
Yeah, and I heard the Daily podcast, the New York Times. They did an interview and did the spotlight on some of the lawyers for the Republican Party and why they've been pushing to. I think they were specifically looking at Arizona's laws and wanted to reform that state's laws. And the lawyers straight up said, if we don't enact these laws, we're going to be at a disadvantage when it comes to the Democratic Party. The Democrats are going to have an advantage. Now, they want to say Democrats, but they didn't want to say, those black and brown folks that are in the Democratic Party and them not supporting us or us not doing what needs to be done to support those groups. So, it's wild, man. It's wild. But, this is America. This is what we've been struggling with since our existence. And as a history teacher, going back to the CRT, man, it's like, we got to teach this stuff, because we don't need another generation of kids growing up and not seeing race, being colorblind, and being super sensitive to the fact that they feel guilty because of our history. Like, we get it. Like, this is not, no one's calling you racist. But the system that we exist in has a lot of laws that have continued to marginalize black and brown people. And, I just going back to the history. I mean, having a conversation with staff and things like that. That's the thing, I'm interested in seeing. I haven't had the opportunity to have that conversation with staff members. I've had one that's engaged me about the whole CRT thing. So I'm curious, what the best way to go about addressing that, because I've got some goals this year for us to be a more anti-racist school, and so I'm sure it's going to come up.
So one of the things that because we are educators, so I want to kind of bring it back to the educational realm. And I know throughout last summer we talked a lot about preparing for the school year and being here for the movement and not for the moment. So kind of related to the Juneteenth and some of the underlying issues that are going on with racial, we talked a lot about how do you prepare your staff, how do you do equity and inclusion training and things like that. There, we've had some equity inclusion officers on our show throughout the school year and things like that as well. So now we are here a year later. I'm going to kind of just reflect back a little bit on that. Like, what are some things that you did throughout this school year to kind of keep that equity and inclusion at the forefront of your staff's mind? What are some things that you're looking to do moving into the future as well?
Yeah, so I talked about us kind of starting off with some book studies last year. We were reading this book, Is Anti-Racist, and to be completely honest, we kind of fell off with our study just because of how hectic the school year was. I hate to make excuses, but it is what it is. But it's something that I'm going right back to. We're going to do much more of our professional development around being culturally responsive, being anti-racist, and making and creating space for all of our students. Our Black and brown population, Black and Latinx students are a small population. We've got a large group of South Asian and East Asian in our school community, but we got to create spaces for all of our students, and that's a step towards anti-racism. And I think that is very important. We have to have these conversations and hold up a mirror to who we are as individuals. And I think the biggest thing is the adults in the school. And so, myself and my assistant principal, you ask about action steps. I have a Black woman principal now, assistant principal now. She's the only in our district. And, I've talked about it before, that, as the only Black man principal in our district, we've got the only all Black administrative team in our district. Again, it blows my mind, but that's one intentional, I could talk about the process of hiring, but I mean, she rose to the top. I did that, critical SWOT analysis to figure out, what is it that I need to fill in the gaps where I'm not strong in. I need someone that's strong, and she hits all the marks. She's got all the experiences, and it's her first time in admin, so it's a growing process, and I'm happy that I have the opportunity to do that. But just in my hiring processes, it's that season. I know this is something that we were going to talk about with hiring, man. We are we're going to have a pretty diverse front office. The secretaries that welcome families into our school are going to be all brown, and that's like, again, unheard of in my district, and that's intentional. Not that we're trying to eliminate, we're not trying to eliminate any groups, but we want to be more inclusive, and so we've been a lot more intentional in our hiring practices that to give opportunities to folks that may not have them, and we've really been looking at our biases in that aspect as well. Like, we're not looking for someone that we can just hang out with, on the weekends that we would invite over to the house. That's a great quality to have in an employee, but can they do the job? Do they have experiences outside of our district? So that's just, kind of the top edge of what we're doing. So, professional development, we are developing that this summer about what that's going to look like, and again, creating those spaces and being more inclusive, being anti-racist versus just not being racist. And in our hiring practices, a little two big action steps that we're taking.
So, for us, we talked a lot about, this year we did the book study on why are the Black kids sitting together in the cafeteria. And really, the purpose behind that book study was to analyze our own biases and isms that we bring to the schoolhouse, whether it be as an administrator or a teacher. What are we bringing to the forefront when we are in front of kids, and how are we doing that there? And it could be, a lot of times is unconscious biases that we don't really know that are out there. So the book study for me was good. So the way we kind of set it up was my building leadership team, which is made up of 4 teachers, my instructional coach, and my 2 APs. We did the book study last summer. And then those 4 teachers, they led 4 groups of teachers throughout the school year in that book study. So basically, it wasn't coming from the administrator. It was coming directly from other teachers. So I was able to kind of bounce in and out of rooms and kind of hear some conversations and be able to kind of add to conversations where I needed to, or just kind of sit back and listen and reflect and things like that there. But and I told them, I said, we're not trying to really change practices this year. All I want you to do is be aware of the things that are going on. And, and it happened kind of organically that as we start to sit in PLCs, especially with my ELA department, they start to have conversations about, are the pieces of literature that we're picking for kids to read reflective of them? So, they made a conscious effort to go out. So when I gave them their classroom library money this year, they made a very conscious effort to go out and find books by Black authors, by Hispanic authors, by Asian authors, so that basically students were reading authors that reflected them. We took that whole adage that reading should be not only mirrors, but it should also be glass doors or sliding glass doors where I can see something, or I can step through and actually be in that environment. So we made a very conscious effort of looking at the materials that we're putting in front of kids in our social studies classrooms, especially in my American history class. They looked at, are we presenting this, the Revolutionary War through only one lens? Or are there other lenses that we could be proving this from? It was a war between England and the colonies, but how did Native Americans play into that? How did African Americans play into that? What was their role in all that? Because it wasn't just white people fighting against white people. There were other people that were involved that, played the price. So like I said, while that wasn't the intention of the book study, I was glad to see that that's where the book study went for my teachers, because I wanted to get there at some point, but I didn't think it was going to happen as fast as it was. And then at the end, as we wrapped up the book study, one of the things that in the wrap-up conversation that teachers kept resonating and saying is that now we have to be able to challenge each other. we have to be able to say, you know, hey, call each other out. So now next year, the one book studies that matter of fact, my BOT, we're getting ready to start it for the summer, so they can lead it next year, is Courageous Conversations About Race. So how do we have those courageous conversations with our colleagues, with the people in our circles? Because first we have to be able to influence our circle before we can influence anybody else there. So I'm looking forward to that work. And then you talked about, you know, the African-American woman assistant principal. So I had the pleasure of hiring an African-American woman assistant principal as well this year. So our team is going to be real diverse. So you have me. One of my APs is an African-American woman. The other one is a Caucasian male. So we have a pretty diverse admin team. But then with even in my front office staff, 3 of my 4 secretaries are African-American women, you know, and then we already know that 45% of my staff is African-American. So I lost two African-American, one African-American female teacher, and that was a math teacher who's now being promoted to an instructional coach. And then one of my health teachers, he's African-American male. He's going on to be a football coach at the high school level at another school. But I was able to replace them with 2 Black male teachers. So, you know, I'm bringing more Black males onto the staff as well. I was also blessed to be able to hire a Hispanic teacher this upcoming school year. So I'm super excited about that. And she teaches English. So I'm excited about that, you know, that piece as well. So really just trying to diversify the staff, keep that diversity there. So, you know, representation is important, as we know, as well. So kind of switching the gears a little bit, I want to talk about another holiday. We would be remiss if we didn't talk about Father's Day as being, you know, 2 Black fathers. And when David gets on, I want him to talk about it as well, because I know our kids play a lot of the role in the men who we are, you know. So basically, I just talk about it, like, what does Father's Day mean to you? Meant to you growing up, and then what does it mean to you now as a father? I think that's 2 different perspectives in that process. So we can jump into that for a minute.
Yeah. So Father's Day is really special, and you know, I didn't grow up in the house with my dad, but my dad has always been a part of my life, and I think, you know, just that experience of, you know, not always having dad around, and you know, I think back to you know, the conversations that we had. It was a lot of one-way conversations, dad imparting his knowledge to me, and I didn't really have the opportunity to share. But one of the things that I always think about is, you know, my dad made it to all of my high school football games at my senior year, and that was really special to me because we lived about 2 hours away. And so, you know, he would drive those late nights, you know, after work, he'd come up and check out all my games, the home games and away games. And that was huge because he didn't really do that, you know, prior to. And so that was always something meaningful. And then thinking about as a dad now, like, I always wanted to make sure that I was setting the environment. So when I had kids, like, it was going to be with my wife. And, you know, I was going to be present, was going to be active and doing all sorts of things. You know, it was my oldest son is 12, and he was born my first year as a teacher. And, you know, it was I loved the summer because I always throw him in the car, and just hit the road and just do something different and just create experiences. I think that's one of the biggest things that, you know, being a father has always meant about, you know, I'm setting the example, I'm setting the table for my kids, for my sons. This is what I'm showing them, this is what you need to do. Cause I've got three boys and 1 girl. And, you know, and when it comes to my daughter, like, I'm setting the example for who she should be looking for, you know, when she looks for a mate, if you know, man, woman, whatever the case is going to be, that she's looking for someone with the qualities that I have. And that's in the forefront of my head every single day. And I mentioned, you know, my oldest is going to be a 7th grader at my school. So this past year was his first year in my school. And I constantly think, as an educator, do I want this teacher? Am I setting the tone and the environment that I want my son to have? Because he is in my school building, you know. So that's, you know, am I presenting myself the best way possible, the best example for him? And so, you know, Father's Day is a big deal. I think about Father's Day like every day is Father's Day. And, you know, my kids are young. I know your daughter is off in college, but you know, I cherish the days, you know, even the days where, like, man, I do not want to get up. I do not want to go out here and play and do all those things. But guess what? I got to suck it up and do that for my kids. So Father's Day is an important day, but it's every day is Father's Day because we have a huge role in what our kids are doing. So I'm interested in your experience growing up, and then now, I mean, your daughter's grown, so
right.
but I'm sure it's been important to you as well.
So Father's Day for me is a tell of two coin. I mean, tell of both two sides of a coin, because growing up, I grew up without a father. My dad was not present in my life growing up. I had some amazing football coaches who kind of stepped into that role at different points in my life that kind of helped guide me. Shout out to my goddad, Coach Jack, who was my Pop Warner football coach, who basically took me into his home, made me a part of his family with his son, who became my best friend, Justin, who passed away a few years ago. And then his sister Jacqueline, who they treated me like I was one of theirs, So it was kind of a bittersweet not having that father figure, especially when you're playing football and you see other people's dads at the game and things like that, or senior night, and you got other people's fathers walking them across the field and things like that. So you kind of miss out on that there. But the one thing it did teach me, though, is as I was growing up, experienced that. I said if and when I became a father, I was going to make sure I was there for my child. I never wanted my child to suffer or go through what I went through. So I was extremely blessed at the age of 20 to have my daughter. People it's crazy because people always think that I had my daughter and then got married, but actually I got married at 19 and my daughter was born the following year. But just extremely blessed. Actually, I was 21. I was 21 when I had my daughter, and it just totally changed my entire life. I mean, as a father, like when you are truly there for your kids, they give you that reason to continue to go. So when I, got out the military, my daughter was the reason why I left the military, because I worked for a reconnaissance squadron. I was on the road, 6 to 9 months out the year. And I didn't want to miss that time with my daughter. So that was one of the reasons why I stepped away from the military. But then when I went into college, being first generation, not having anyone in my family who I can call and ask for advice when I was, getting fed up with a class or a professor was tripping, anything like that. I looked at my daughter as that motivation. And the one thing that I was always in the back of my head, I didn't want to quit, because I never wanted, when my daughter ran into something, for her to look back and say, well, Dad, you quit. You gave up. So how can you tell me? I always want to be like, look, if I can get through this, you can get through it. You know what I'm saying? Because you are my seed. So what's in you came from me. So that was kind of a lot of my motivation to, pretty much to where I am today in my career and things like that. It was always trying to be that role model for my daughter. And now seeing her in college and, doing the things that she does, she done had some hiccups. College ain't been, the sweet ride that she thought it was going to be, on top of being COVID and virtual. So, a lot of different things like that we kind of try to have to battle through and fight through and trying to find a new path to get to where she wants to go. But now Father's Day is like just that recognition. I sit back and look at, baby pictures and pictures of her in elementary school and high school and her high school graduation and things like that, and just see like how she has evolved over those years and how we've kind of grown together. A lot of people don't know that, I was a single father. So I took my daughter in when she was 13 and, raised her from 13 to 18 by myself until she went off to college. So it's just a different bond. And that's another thing that people are just shocked that somebody put a comment on there is, how do we feel about single moms being told Happy Father's Day? Well, single fathers don't get told Happy Mother's Day on Mother's Day. So I do take offense to that. There was a comedy routine that I seen a little while ago where basically they talked about Mother's Day is like the second most celebrated holiday in America, and Father's Day is like 20th. And I'm still thinking, like, I can't even think of 18 other holidays. like I can't even think of 18 other holidays that you like. Arbor Day is before Father's Day. Like, how is that even possible? But it just kind of shows you, I think how society has downgraded and tried to diminish the role of a father, but not really understanding how important that role is. And I'm not trying to diminish moms by any means, because my grandmother was a phenomenal mom to me. Moms do a lot. I'm pretty sure there's a lot more single moms than there are single fathers. And I don't think single mom or single father is the way to go. I think a child should be raised by both parents, either in a co-parenting situation or in the same household as well. But I won't say I take offense to moms being told Happy Father's Day, but it does kind of rub me the wrong way, because like I said, men don't get that same recognition when they're doing the exact same thing when they're a single father. So,
yeah. So I just want to give a shout out. I don't know if y'all can see the Black Fathers Exist. If y'all are familiar with them, if you're not, check them out on Instagram. I'm rocking the Black Father Noun T-shirt. But you're speaking to some of the things that I've been with. I a huge consumer of podcasts and audible books. Just because that's how I do things. But I mean, I think there's just these gender stereotypes and all these preconceived notions about who does what and all these types of things. I mean, I'm sure you've gone through all the emotions, as a father with your daughter. The heartbreak and the disappointments and just all those different things. And as men, we're not seen as being able to have those emotions, or it being safe for being masculine, all these types of things. I mean, we can go so many different roads, but we don't get the love that we deserve. And I think it's important that we step up and we show whatever your circumstance, whatever your situation is, showing love to your kids is the most important thing that you can do. Besides showing love and respect to their mother, the second most important thing is showing up and showing out for your kids.
I want to jump back into a little bit about the educational side of things. So we do we big on offering this free PD. So I want to talk about what was the major lessons that we learned from the school year as leaders. What are some major takeaways and things like that. So I'll kind of jump in first, and we kind of ping pong back and forth with one, or maybe hit up 2 or 3 each. But my first major lesson was delegation and autonomy is kind of together for me. And I didn't talk a lot about this during the school year. I kind of it was almost one of the things you suffered in silence. But early on in the school year, like when we were still all virtual, both of my assistant principals were let go. So basically, I had to run a school of 600 kids and 60 staff members by myself for about 8 weeks, about 2 months is what it ran out to, until I got my sub APs in place and was able to kind of take some of the load off. But through that time and through that learning that I went through with that, is I found out how much I can lean on my team. My teachers are so phenomenal. I mean, they were coming in almost on a daily check-in, like, hey, Dr. Smith, are you good? What can we do? What can we take off your plate? So I was able to really learn how to delegate and give some autonomy to some of my teachers. And we really developed some amazing teacher leaders during that time, some who have now taken that and ran with it because they have now been promoted to other positions after the school year. But that was my major takeaway, is that as the school leader, you don't have to take on everything by yourself. You have to be able to give some things off to your staff, whether it be teachers, instructional coach, or assistant principals, and not micromanage the process, but really let them run with it and make it their own. So that was kind of the first thing that I took away from the school year, is that autonomy and delegation that you have to give to people, not just in a time of crisis, but throughout time as I move forward.
Yeah, that's real, man. I wish I would have been better at those things. We had the opportunity to share at the National Charter School Conference this morning, afternoon for y'all. It was morning for me out here in Cali. But one of the things that I talked about is just understanding some of the areas that I could have improved on. So I think that's one of the big things, takeaways for me, is that yes, what you just said, Doc, is so important. Giving folks autonomy and delegating, but also the communication piece. One of the things that I tried to do was to protect my folks, because we're a school building, but we've got the district above us, and it seemed like things were constantly changing. And so I was trying to protect them by not sharing all the information, because stuff was changing. We get something Monday at our principals meeting, and by Tuesday afternoon, let's pull back, let's hold off on this, or something changed, and we might have 2 or 3 changes throughout the week. So I took the brunt of it, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna hold this information right here, and we're just gonna continue to do our thing. And I feel like I missed some opportunities to grow some of my teachers, grow some of my leaders. I don't know if it was a lack of trust or me really trying to protect folks, but that's a huge lesson for me to learn as a leader, is like, you know what, don't bear the burden on your own of all the things that are going on. There are so many capable people, and just because things were changing so much, it just felt like a lot of staff was overwhelmed, but we had some that were thriving. and I could have tapped into them a little bit more, get their feedback, get their thoughts before rolling something else out or communicating something. So, just I'll take the flip side of that, Doc, is I should have leaned into that more. And moving forward, I will. I'm not going to, keep everything held to my chest, close to the vest, if you will, when it comes to communication or things that we need to do as a site. So that's one big reflection for me. And I see we got David is in the building. So we just started reflecting on our big takeaways. So Doc,
yes, I was going to do a reset. So we got Mr. Naptown in the building. He stayed grinding. That's why he was a little bit late. And there's actually a comment I'm going to put up at the end of the recap because Dave want to make this a show. So we're going to bring this back this summer as a show. But Dave, so we checked in first. We're going to be check in. This is how, what's new in Naptown with you and Tinley as you making major moves down there. And then we just talked about, this is technically our 1 year anniversary show. So what's a year in a review? And when that year in a review, we touched a little bit on Juneteenth and kind of how things have come full circle for us since last year with all the protests. And, and then we talked a little bit about Juneteenth and how it became a federal holiday and how that was kind of like the sucker to appease the people because they weren't going to Disney World a little bit. So, so we just kind of let you kind of, rap about a little bit of that. We can give you, the platform to kind of do your thing on that there. And then we're going to come back at the end though, and talk about, this comment right here, because that's going to be a show later on.
There we go. William. Okay. We see you, William.
Right.
We're coming back to that. Don't worry.
Hey man, first of all, man, I've been on 10. I don't know if y'all touched on it, but we presented for the second year in a row at the National Charter School Conference. And man, just the energy being back with the fellas was great. Man, everything's good, man. East side of Nat, man, stand up. All is good. School year was great. Just finished a master's class over launching. It's called the Launching Lab. So looking at trying to start my own business, man. It's time to jump out, man, and break these shackles and do my own school thing, man. After being on that panel with Naomi and talking about the charter collaborative, and I know, you got those Black charter leaders leading those single sites, man. It's about time that, I take some of the things that I've learned from the amazing educators I worked under and try to do my own thing. So I'm still grinding at Tinley. So any Tinley people listen, I ain't leaving. I got a 3-year plan, so you're going to rock with me for a little bit, but it might be time, to do my own thing, man. Launch the Real Academy, realizing, excelling, and achieving through learning. So I got a name already. But yeah, man, it's been good, but I'm excited to be here 1 year in the game. When we started, it was Juneteenth. When we started, Black people were getting murdered senselessly. Folks were protesting and doing the right things. And fast forward a year later, now you got, the president who we put in office, appeasing us, as you guys say, giving us a slap on the back with a federal holiday. But like I tell people, man, I didn't need Biden to make Juneteenth a federal holiday because I would have took off work anyway. And I was taking off work anyway on Juneteenth. So I don't need you to give me a federal holiday to take off work. But I will say this. The positive side is it is some acknowledgement. So I'm not going to just dismiss it like it's not a big deal, like it is a big deal for it to be a federal holiday. But I think the other things that we're asking for, we would like those as well, right? The anti-lynching bill and things like that. We want those things as well. So don't think we forgot the energy, and don't think we forgot, and that includes everybody, even the Queen Kamala, right? Like we helped put you there too. So 4 years have come around real quick, and we don't forget things. So, but man, I'm excited, man. I was able to catch pieces of it. So happy Father's Day to both y'all and everybody else.
Oh yeah, we definitely want you to hit upon that because you are a father, 3 years in the game now?
2 years, man. Zuri ran 2, man. So.
And we know you have an amazing dad as well. So you kind of get blessed on both sides of the coin. So if you just talk about like what does Father's Day mean to you as a son, but then also what does it mean to you as a father as well?
Oh man, so yeah, growing up, I was fortunate and blessed to grow up in a household with my dad. Still living, still there for me. So I always had that foundation, and so now I have an opportunity to be a dad myself. And if I can just be a smidget of the father my father was, right, I think Zuri will turn out the same way I did, which is I turned out good. And so it's just, man, you guys know, man, having a child, having a daughter gives you a different perspective. We see education differently. We see our work differently, our investments differently. But man, she's the best thing that's ever happened to me. She's the one thing I've done right in the world, and she saved my life. And so I just hope every day I can just be a better father. And then when she gets older, I hope she can say, that's my dad, and I'm happy he's my dad, because I know I'm damn proud to call Dave McGuire Sr. my dad. So happy Father's Day to all those fathers. And I saw some comments about the whole, women doing a happy Father's Day. I ain't gonna touch that. I'm just gonna let that sit right there. But yeah.
So then we could jump back to, the last thing we talked about, just major lessons. We can kind of ping pong around, major lessons. And I can just recap for me. And I'll have, Ball do it like a 2-second recap. Mine was autonomy and delegation was one of the first major lessons I learned from the school year, being to be able to delegate some things to my staff and then give them the autonomy to make it look like what they wanted to look like, as long as it was getting the job done. So that was kind of my first major takeaway from the year.
Yeah, and my takeaway was probably the opposite, or the fact that I needed to do more of that, and that's what I'll be doing moving forward.
Man, my biggest takeaway is trusting my teachers, having to trust teachers, right? Because there were so many moving parts, man, that you learn a lot about the people that you work with, and as school leaders, you learn a lot about your teachers in adversity and times like this, man. And my teacher showed up, man. Like I was shocked, honestly, about how well they did this school year. I mean, hell, I think they handled some of this better than I did some days, right? And so I was appreciative of that. The other lesson is, man, listen, I try to tell folks, man, COVID impacted a lot of people, right? But as one of my parents told me, Mr. McGuire, I've been struggling for food and I've been struggling trying to get a job. So COVID didn't impact me that way, right? Like, if anything, it leveled the playing field for other folks, right? And so I think we have to understand, right, there's some families, there's some people that they live this pandemic that we've been living for 18 months. This has been people's whole life, right, for 18 years, some cases, right? And so they understand, right, how to navigate this system. I think hopefully those of us that's been privileged and had opportunities more than others, when those things were limited, that we learn how valuable, certain things are. And I hope we have a greater appreciation. I definitely have a greater appreciation for having my kids in the building. I have a greater appreciation for being able to see their faces when they smile, being able to wipe their tears when they cry, right? So the major lesson is, man, I'm appreciative of the time that I've had, that we had and will have again in school, man. I think we can't take that for granted, man, because this school year was wonky and crazy. And I'm looking forward to getting back to a sense of normalcy, hopefully next year.
So for me, I guess my next big takeaway was the power of the parent. Like I said, I knew parents were important, but I think this pandemic starting last March really highlighted how important it is to have parents on your team. I think a lot of times, especially at the middle school level, I think at the elementary level, parents are a little bit more involved, a little bit more leaned upon. But I think sometimes in the middle school, we forget about the parent. We forget about the power of the parent and what they can do to help us achieve the goals that we have. Like, they don't have to be an afterthought in this process. And I was just, elated that in my summative review or my summative evaluation, that my boss and the superintendent both said, if there was one thing that we can say you strived in, it was connecting with your parent and your school community, how you brought them in, and how the narrative about your school has shifted in just 1 year, and how people understand what's going on. Everything is very transparent. You're upfront, and then you're also kind of that one-stop shop. If there's something that a parent needs in the community, not even if it has to do with the school, you can connect them with the resources that they need, whether it be trying to get counseling service or whether it be trying to get to a food bank or, job counseling, things like that there. So that was the piece that made just how important the school community and parents have been. That's something I want to continue to build upon and set even higher goals. This year alone in our PTSA, we had 110 members, and out of 110 members, 60 of them were parents. So I'm like, how can we double that? I have close to 300 parents in my school building. So if I can get 150 of my parents to be active members in the PTSA, I'm not saying that you have to hold a board meeting, but if we're doing, a curriculum night, you're there to kind of help volunteer. Or, if we're doing parent-teacher conferences, which I'm hoping we continue to do it virtually, but if we do it in person, that after you're done with your conferences, can you sit down and watch somebody else's kid while they go in and do a conference? Like, how do we build that true village community within the process of, things that we do in GMS. So the power of the parent, it was the second thing that I kind of pulled away from this school year.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback on that. I think this was the first time with us being virtual for most of the school year, for some of our students, for most of my students, virtual all school year. It's the first time that at the middle school level that our parents have been able to see our teachers in action. And for some, it was a great experience. For others, not so much.
Not so much.
And I mean, and that's the reality. And so I think this is a great opportunity for us as school leaders to step in and really provide support. Because, unfortunately, we probably weren't able to get into as many classes as we wanted to and be that presence that we should be as instructional leaders. I know I'm pulling out all my warts. I'm opening up the door, hey, this is who I am and this is where I'm at. But I wanted to do so much more as an instructional leader this year, and really running 2 different schools, it was really difficult to do that for me. And I don't want us to lose how much more engaged many of our parents were this year. And so that's one of the things that I'm hoping next year. I want to double our PTA membership. We've got an educational fund that, we have families that raise money for us to support additional sections and things like that. We have a school site council that helps us establish our school goals for the school year. I want to bring more of those parents in because they see what we're doing on campus. They see stuff that I might not be seeing. And so I want to tap into that and not just be like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about, parents. Like, let's be real. Some of the stuff that was happening in classrooms wasn't good on Zoom calls and Google Meets. And so we got to be real about that. We got to be real about the process of helping support our teachers be better. And if they don't want to be better, they need to find something else to do.
Hey, one thing I learned from YouTube, and because both of people know that follow the show, like our school opened. We started school August 3rd virtually, and then by August 17th, we had like most of the kids in person. So most of my school year was in person. But for you two who navigated a virtual school and an in-person school longer, major lesson I took back is, in order to be an effective school leader, you can't be a one-trick pony, right? So while you can be great instructionally, you better learn how to navigate and engage parents. You better understand the importance of systems and things like that. Or if you're really good at systems and really good at programming, you better be good at instruction, right? Because there's the virtual instruction and the way you deliver that. There's in-person instruction. It's different when you can't interact with kids as much, when you can't really do small groups. And so you got to coach teachers to be more creative with engagement when you have to have kids, behind plexiglass and things like that. Like, you can't be a one-trick pony. And so I think one thing I learned, another major lesson was, as a school leader, man, your toolbox, man, it better be deep. Like, you got to be a Swiss Army knife, man. You cannot be a one-trick pony, right? And you got to have skills to lead in this moment, in this movement. So I appreciate watching you two over the course of this past school year, man. I don't know if I could have led a virtual and in-person school like that, man. It's just it was hard, man. It was hard in the last year. So that's just something I would need to grow in, because I think COVID or no COVID, virtual is the new wave. And I think you're going to see a lot of schools offering that option because there are some children and some families that thrive in that environment. And so we can't strip that from them. So just tied off to say, like, don't be a one-trick pony as a school leader if you want to be successful.
And I just to piggyback on that again, I think that's why we're in our positions, man. We've got that capability. We had the opportunity to show that this year, and there's going to be more opportunities, down the line. Because just like we said, the whole virtual component is not going to go away. It's just a matter of how we deliver it. Is it going to be, in my situation, the district's running it, but I when the district came to us and asked, school principals, this is something that's probably not going to go away. How do you think we should handle it? Should you be doing it in-house? Should we take it over as a district and run it for the whole district? I said, hey, we did so many more things this year than we thought we could do. So you tell us, we'll make it happen. And
right.
Just give us enough time and the resources, we'll make it happen.
And let me tell you why these two have been successful. So I don't know if, again, shout out to Naomi for putting us on for the National Charter School Conference, but Ball had on a jacket today, but he wore the jacket because he wanted to show that pin because his school is a distinguished school in California. And I think that's major to shout out, man. I think that being able to do that and to carry that into this school year, right, and to maintain that is powerful. And then I don't know if y'all know, but if y'all watch our live shows, man, Doc's background look a little different. I think homie straight up upgraded on something serious lately, so it's looking good, brother. I can see it's kind of the walls are different shades of white.
This is just the man cave. We trying to get the man cave together. We done upgraded the digs. We done doubled the home size. We got 3,000 plus square feet now.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, so the office ain't together, so I'm in the man cave because the office not where I want it to be quite yet. I ain't got that elaborate background like you got with all the posters and stuff.
Yeah, man, I gotta. Hey, don't let these posters fool y'all, man. I am in an apartment on the east side of Napa. All right, so I just got the background and the mic anyway. But no, I mean, it's good to be back, man, with y'all and doing this. Listen, I was scrolling through the comments, man. This master. What was that question you had?
Let's go back up to it.
Yeah. Hey,
man. Let's put it back on the screen. Let's put it back on the screen. For my boy William, who's been all in the comments tonight. Shout out to William.
Yeah, where is it? Should school administer? Hey, man.
There it is.
That's heavy. Let me see. What's our next show? July.
What's July?
July. No, it's
July 7th.
July 7th.
July 7th. Yeah.
Now we gonna have to see. I might have to do the show from Cancun because I'll be in Cancun at that time. So
we can do palm trees.
So we might be coming to live from the beach.
Hey, that's like that, but I like that, man. So I ain't gonna touch on it too much, man. But that's a loaded question. I mean, it depends on.
Weren't you tweeting about that this not too long ago?
I did. I be trying to be careful on Twitter. Those that follow the show, man. I've been good in 2021, not saying nothing crazy, but yeah, man. Listen, for real, I think we all know, right? Like you got to be at any moment, right, to jump in the classroom. And I ain't gonna talk too much. Jump in the classroom, man, and model for a teacher. And folks know that I teach a lot of my school. That's because we can't get no subs, and that's a show for another day. But when I'm trying to coach a teacher and it's just not clicking, sometimes I just got to get up and show you. And you've all done that and experienced that. And so that's my little tease of that. But that's not this show. But I just wanted to tease that, man.
But I do want to hit upon it real quick because that's gonna be my third major takeaway for the school year. Because one thing I tout is that school leaders, the principal needs to be an instructional leader. At the end of the day, you have to be an instructional leader. However, my big takeaway from this year is, and I don't knock building managers, but I found out this year you need those building managers because at any moment's notice, you know what I'm saying, we had to almost was on the verge of shutting down because of we had so many staffs quarantined. Mm-hmm. Lucky to say we never had to quarantine an entire cohort of kids, for exposure and like that. But like, understanding, making sure we had enough buses and making sure how was lunch going to roll because we can't use the cafeteria. Now we're doing breakfast and lunch in the classroom and making sure teachers had time. They still got their, duty-free lunch and make sure they had enough playing time. So I found out that you have to be able to, like you said, you have to be that Swiss Army knife. You have to be able to, so I would put my major takeaway with that. You have to be a hell of a juggler as a principal. You have to be able to juggle multiple balls at the same time. And like, it's funny because it's the little picture of the little meme or whatever. The little kid said, "What do principals do?" And they say all they do is say announcements and eat donuts. And I'm like, I wish it was just that. I wish that's all we just did. Because you do so much and you got to deal with the irate parent, and then you got to worry about the curriculum and make sure stuff is getting taught. So that piece that you talked about, that Swiss Army knife, and wearing multiple hats and knowing how to appease everybody. I think that principal play. You got to appease the teacher, you got to appease the student, you got to appease the parent. And you got to appease the people at central office. Like, don't nobody have that pressure coming from every angle like that building principal. So that was the thing that I just learned, like how to be a hell of a juggler is something else that this year taught me.
Agreed.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think, again, as I mentioned before, we're in our positions because we can do that. The folks that hired us, see that ability within us. And so, yeah, I think this was the litmus test for how much you can handle. And I think, as leaders with so many different things up in the air, like it's cool when like you know that there's chaos in the background and you got all these different things, but kids are learning, teachers are teaching, everybody's getting fed, and all those different things are happening. But you got it in the background and you playing it cool because that's what we do. Our folks are looking to us. I mean, what's that adage? If the principal gets a cold, sneezes, everybody gets a cold.
Mm-hmm.
Like we set the tone. We set the tone, and when we can be that Swiss Army knife and make things happen, folks see that and they see that we're cool, calm, and collected. I think that's one of the things. My big takeaway is like folks see that, and I got so much feedback from parents and students that were just appreciative that I showed up every day with enthusiasm. When they saw me, I was there. I was trying to make things happen, and that meant so much to me because in my head, I'm having a conversation with someone, but I'm thinking about 10 million things, and I got to smile. I'm like, yeah, I love it. You're doing great things. Keep up the good work, and and you're making it seem like you got everything under control, even when you don't.
Yeah.
And William said, operations and instruction, where's the balance? And for me, I don't think there is a balance. I think that's the problem, that we try to find this balance. I don't think it's a balance. My thing is, what is the tool that's called for at that time? Like, when I'm going into my toolbox and if I'm building a deck, I might need the nail gun at this moment. And in the next moment, I might need the sanding paper to sand down this piece of wood. I'm not trying to find a balance, make sure I use the sandpaper as much as I use the nail gun. It's what is that call for at that moment? And do I have the proper tool to give it my all to get the job done? So I think that's the thing that I'm moving forward with. It's like, I'm not trying to find a balance between being a building manager and an instructional leader. I'm trying to say at that moment, what's going on in front of me, do I have the right tool to get the biggest bang for my buck? And sometimes that might be instruction if I'm sitting in front of a teacher in a classroom giving a PD. And another time, if I'm sitting in a board meeting trying to get funds to pay for this activity over here, it might be a different role. So I'm not trying to find balance. I'm trying to find what is the right tool for this moment.
Mm-hmm. Hey, look, this season 2, or we on season 3? What season we on? Season 2? We on season 2?
We season 2.
All right, look. This energy I'm bringing for season 2. When William's point about being operations and instruction, the season I'm in at my school as a school leader, right? We in year 3 of this turnaround, trying to improve outcomes for kids. I ain't got time to be no operations person. I got to be instruction 100% of the time, and that's just real, right? We're trying to go from 20% 3 years ago to 40% last year. We got up to 60. We got to get to 80, 90, and eventually to 100. So until the grind gets there, like I gotta be in instruction mode. We got a network director of operations. We got grant managers. I got 2 APs, a counselor. They do the operations. I got a business manager who's dope. I got to be solely instruction. And Unc put it up there. We in summer school right now. We just started the Summer Learning Lab. It kicked off June 21st. It's going until July 23rd. We start school August 9th. I got 150 kids in summer school. I got 14 4-year-olds who's in a kindergarten Kickstart program. It's instruction all day because
who teaching that kindergarten Kickstart program?
Your boy, holla at me. Teaching that kindergarten Kickstart. I was a high school English teacher, but you gotta do what you gotta do. But that's the mode I'm in, right? So right now, my goal is to wear back my 3-piece suits, with my Kohan shoes and my tie clip and sit in my office, right? Because my building is running where I can come in at 11, leave at 2:30 and do my thing. But we're not there yet. So for me, it's instruction all day, every day, right? That's got to be my mindset because kids got to learn. And right now, man, we're not doing, and I'm speaking candidly, like our school is not producing what it should be for our children. And until we do that, man, I got to be instruction focused. So that's my energy. Shout out to the kindergarten Kickstart.
What's your take on that operations versus instruction balance?
I'll take what David said. If you're not strong in some of those areas, you got to have the people in place that can do those types of things. One of my things is like, I kind of like to be involved in all those different types of things, but that's not for me all the time. And so I've got an amazing secretary that's moving to my office manager position. And she's like, look, you do too much. You need to settle in. So it's my job
sir.
As the office manager. I'm going to make sure that you got what you need and that you'll be able to be successful here on our campus. And just like you said, that's leading instruction, and that's setting the tone, academically. I mean, we're in a good spot, but we got so much more to do as growing my staff, so that they're aware. And we're again, like I talked about in the beginning, creating safe spaces for all of our students, because we're experiencing microaggressions, and flat out racism just because we're ignorant. It's not anything that, I'm not calling anybody racist or anything like that. But if you don't understand someone's culture, if you don't understand where they're coming from, it's not a safe space for them. And so like moving forward, that's going to be part of the part of instruction where I'm headed, is to make sure that, we're examining our curriculum, we're examining the language that we're using, and how we're setting up our classroom environments.
Hey Doc, look, Dr. Ball.
You see, trying to come for us.
I see him. But look, Doc, listen, I think in season 2, we need to have a show highlighting the office managers. That's about to be a new energy, man.
Y'all do not want my administrative assistant on this podcast.
We need her.
Hey, y'all, look.
That's right.
They tell us, they be like, dude, you would think y'all was brother and sister, because she challenged me. She be like, look, you ain't doing but she also my sorrow, so you know what I'm saying, that's a whole different energy.
But it's your right and left hand, right? That's people say the AP. No. Like, nothing against, brother and the expert, Principal Kafele, but your office manager, whatever you call clerk, secretary, whatever the term you call that person, that first line of defense, that right hand, man, them special people, man. They deserve their flowers, man. We might need to do a show.
Hey, we definitely look. She'll be the first one. She be on the. You tell her to be on there at 6. She's gonna be on there at 5:30 waiting. Like,
that's right.
I need. So, but to answer questions, she's trying to come from me. So this summer, my teacher actually, we just my building leadership team. We in the midst of the building expertise conference that kicked off today. I went to some amazing breakout sessions in between us doing our thing at the National Charter School Conference. But one was on building stronger teams and really looking into diving into that. And then this Monday coming up, all week long, we kicking off curriculum camp. So I got teachers coming in, realigning curriculum, writing proficiency scales, aligning assessments to standards and things like that. So we do a whole week, Monday through Friday, 8 to 3 curriculum camp across the board. So I'm super geeked about that's popping off. And then we're doing the book study with my BOT starting in July. When I get back from Cancun, we're doing critical conversations about race and really trying to push the conversation, the narrative of challenging each other to make sure those microaggressions, those isms ain't really, being unaddressed by our staff. So, and we already talked about CRT. You came late, so you go back and run the tape.
Hey, listen, I'm with Unc though. If you out here teaching CRT the correct way, right, and not afraid to speak your truth and live your truth, then listen, I'm with him. We definitely got a job. What's it? Definitely ain't no CRT happening in Cali right now. Hey.
He coming for you, boy. Tell me about that pen you got.
Hey, it's just a symbol. But I think the bottom line is, like, what is CRT? There's so many folks out here that want to bash CRT, but they don't even understand it. And I know that 8 Black Hands, they did their show on that, but we got to have a clear understanding of what it is. Like, the way our system is set up, like, that's what CRT is looking at. Like, it's looking at the system. It's not calling anyone. It's not dividing anyone any more than anyone's already divided. So, I think, there's space for it, but, nobody's teaching it. Ain't nobody teaching it.
Do you think CRT is the buzzword for right now?
Oh yeah, that's all it is. It's the boogeyman.
Everybody just jumping on the bandwagon for it right now.
It's the boogeyman. It's a boogeyman. Folks are using to scare you so that we're not doing the work that needs to be done. I think that's the bottom line.
Because last summer it was, diversity and inclusion. So is this summer CRT is the thing everybody's running with?
You man, it was equity, diversity, and
equity.
Yeah. Gotta throw that one in there too, man.
So equity, diversity, and inclusion done evolved to CRT now.
Yeah, it's following the pattern of the past, 18, 19 months, right? It's all building on that. I think now, man. But I will say this, man, they are afraid of the truth coming out for sure. Right. Yeah, they're the diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, right? That now CRT, but man, hey, speak your truth. That's why I say, man.
But
Teachers
but
pretty
but
speak
should
those
CRT
things, man.
should CRT only be happening in the school space though? Like is CRT happening at the Boys and Girls Club?
The
Is
church,
CRT happening at the church? Is CRT happening in these community spaces? Like we talking about CRT happening in the schools, but kids have interactions at other locations. Are we pushing CRT everywhere, or is it just the school is the easy place to push it at?
well, school's the easy place to attack, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna get the headlines in the publication if you're attaching to the school. If this was a church conversation, it wouldn't get the buzz. But you slap schools on it, right? Because you have other entities that can play a part in it. Unions, politicians, right? That can have a hand in that. So it's easier for them to. And listen, you can put money on it, right? Anything they use to make money off black kids, man, they're gonna use it. And this is one of those things. But I do want to go back to something.
So we all about to apply for the CRT grant now.
Hey, it's about to be one, bro. Well, hell, I think there's a line item in the CARES funding for CRT or something. I bet there is. I'm telling you, can find it, man. You can find it. What you can do is you can play with the language and tie it to something. I mean, because think about it. Like they said Biden was pumped money into education, right?
This ESSER money that we getting ain't no joke. Like I don't know about everybody else, but it's some big cheese.
Yeah, but that's the thing, man.
Like, what do you do with
That's
it?
the question. That's the question, Doc.
So and it's funny because, like I said, right here in the Grandview Triangle. So the Grandview Triangle for us is made up of our school district, Center, Hickman, 3 different school districts, pretty much same demographics, things like that. All of them are one high school districts. Maybe 1 or 2 middle schools, stuff like that. And how each school district is using or looking at that money is so different. Like in our district, when we found out how much money we were getting, we had a whole meeting with all the building principals saying, hey, here's how much money we're getting. What do y'all want to do with this money? What is it in your school that we can do to make this go? We got 3 years to spend this, what programming that we can bring in. And, my big thing is literacy. Like I'm trying to like work some people out of a job. So these reading interventionists, let's get these kids on grade level so we don't need a reading interventionist no more. So let's pump some money into true targeted instruction and literacy to make sure these kids can read on grade level, or how do I bring in, some retired teachers to come in and tutor kids during the school day so I ain't got to worry about trying to keep kids after school. You know what I'm saying? How do I give kids the core plus more? Like we did our entire master schedule where now we have a whole intervention and extension block. Every kid every day will have an intervention and extension class, where we can either fill in gaps or extend the learning for them in all content areas. How are we doing those things? You know what I'm saying? Whereas in another district, they like, well, they ain't said nothing to us about the money. Like the district's already made up their mind what they're going to do with the money over here. So I'm saying, my thing is like, we talking about like, the boots on the ground, the people that's doing the work. They don't want. What are they going to do with the money? So I was just elated that our district even came to us like, what do you want to do with the money? And then we threw out those ideas. They was like, cool, let's make it happen. Let's write up this plan. Let's look at how do we, a 3-year process of how do we gauge and make sure it's making progress. And like William just said, we also how do we look at tier 1 instruction? Not everything has to be an intervention. How do we fix tier 1 instruction? How do we make sure teachers are doing activities so that align to the standards? So we, like I said, I told y'all before, we did the 6-part PD series around proficiency scales and unpacking standards so teachers really understood. Do you know what you're teaching? When you read that standard, do you really understand what is it you're supposed to be putting in front of kids and assessing them over? So just the way that they're using the ESSER money in different places is going to be wildly different.
Yo, bro, listen.
Wow, I need to
go ahead, Paul.
No, I was just gonna say, Doc, I need to be in your district's meeting because we haven't had that meeting yet.
Hey man, I'm from the mud, dog. You give me some money and talk about I got 3 years, I'm about to figure out how to stretch that to 6 years. So like when I'm looking at this pot of money, man, people say it's only good for 3 years. 3 years where? I'm about to make a plan to make this sustainable, right? So like how do we craft and use this money appropriately where it builds on each other, right? So yeah, the money physically is 3 years long, but how do you extend these programs or these initiatives or this work, right, to last longer than that? And so to William's point, right, we're pouring money in teacher development, right? Like teacher development. We got to develop teachers faster and we got to develop it long. I'm in a charter school, man. So like, I know I'm going to give folks 2-3 years max, right? So how do I maximize that 2 to 3 years of that teacher and what I get out of them, but also keep the pipeline going, right? But we got to make this money stretch. So like, we were given X amount that we can spend on what you want to spend it on, and they trying to find out why you holding on to it in year one. It's not that I'm holding on to it in year one. I just know the things we need to do in year one don't really require this money. Developing teachers, I ain't got to put no money there. I got to just be intentional about my coaching and things like that. It's year 2 and year 3 and year 4. How we utilize that money is where I need it. But right now we got to develop the teachers and get that tier 1. And then we start working on our OST, which is out of school time, right? Getting these after school programs to develop kids and keep them out the streets and things like that. That's the stuff we got to do. And I see William just put up there phonemic awareness because he asked about how we're doing literacy. Listen, it's phonics, phonemic awareness, and fluency. DIBELS, TRC, K through 6. That's what we're hanging our hat on. Screening, diagnosing, progress monitoring. That's it. Like that is, I'm with you, Doc. Literacy is it. Screen them, diagnose them, progress monitoring. That's what we're doing because that's what research is shown. That's how you get the biggest gains.
Bob, what y'all doing with the money?
That's a good question, man. I don't know. I ain't been in that conversation yet.
Be careful.
I ain't been in that conversation yet, and it's funny because I've had a couple of teachers ask, and I'm like, I've been completely honest. I don't know. I don't know. We've got a plan that we're developing this strategic initiatives that dive into what is it? Deep learning, equity, and wellness. I'm assuming that there's money going to go to that, but we've got to clearly define what that is and what it looks like on these school sites. So we've got a lot of work to do when it comes to that.
Parents,
and the one thing that David talked about,
ask questions about that money to your schools.
David talked about, the DIBELS and Fontes Pinnell, and I would tell you last summer I'd have been like, well, what is that? But throughout the school year, I found that there is data supporting those programs. And, and the problem is they're only using them at the elementary level. So what we just did with my Title I funds is we went out and bought a Fontes and Pinnell program. All the resources dropped $15,000 for all of it because I got 8th graders still reading on the 3rd grade level who need those programs in order to be able to read. I just went and took my 6th grade ELA teacher, repurposed her as a reading interventionist, and said, we're going to get you trained up in this because the same stuff that they're getting those gains for in elementary, my 8th grader reading on 3rd grade level need those same exact strategies. So why y'all keep trying to teach them, look higher level stuff when they ain't even got the basic understanding and stuff like that? And, they was like, we really going to do this? Yeah, we really going to do this. We going to repurpose because if this is proof that it works, why aren't we using it? Why aren't we doing it? Like y'all keep doing the same interventions and giving kids books on 3rd grade level, having them read books on 3rd grade levels. That's not getting them to a 4th grade level.
Man, look, if you don't know the instructional reading level of every kid in your building, that's the first thing that you need to figure out. And that's why the DIBELS can go K8 because you need to know the reading level, Lexile level of every student, right? Then you need to know what their instructional level is, right? Because that's where you're pushing and driving the interventions, right? You still expose them to grade level content. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that if they're in a 6th grade reading class, they don't get the 6th grade reading book. No, they get that, but you have to have a plan, right? To your point, to build that foundational skill. So if you have a 4th or 5th grader that is struggling reading, you need to figure out, is it decoding? Is it phonemic awareness, right? Do they not understand all the sounds? And you might have to do Orton Gillingham, right? And you might have to do those type of programs.
We paying for that training as well. And OG training is expensive as
Listen, man, I will go to bat with people about OG, right? Like that OG works, period. It just does, right? Because my daughter's 2 and I'm trying, and she ain't really, I'm not saying my daughter's brilliant, but she can respond after me, A, apple at, B, boy, buh, C, cat. Like she can do those things because that's important. But a lot of kids didn't get that early on, man. And why like you said, you got 8th graders reading at a 3rd grade level because we just glossed over teaching them the basic foundations of letter sounds, long E, short E, right? CH, TH, SH. Like we can do a whole show about reading, but I say all to say the money should be put, man, in teaching kids how to read. Because Doc, as a math person, right? If kids can't read, they're not gonna do this 7th, 8th grade, 9th grade math because it gets the real world application and story problems. And if you can't read, how you gonna read the story problem?
And that's my big push this year. One of my phrases this year is the core plus more. How am I giving kids the core instruction plus more? So my kids that are in 8th grade, reading on 3rd grade level, you're gonna go to your 8th grade communications arts class, but you also gonna go to this reading intervention class too.
Yes, sir.
So you gonna get both. So because like I said, my goal, and I told myself they think I'm crazy, is I want 80% of my kids reading at tier 1, tier 2 level. Tier 1 is at or above grade level, and tier 2 is 1 grade level below. Like now, so if I got an 8th grade that's reading on the 3rd grade level, yeah, I'm not gonna get them to 7th grade in 1 year. But if I can take them from 3rd grade to 6th grade, look how much more I'd enhance this kid's life by doing that. Like we 1 year improvement is not good enough no more. That's pretty much what it is. 1 year improvement ain't good enough no more. We need to be getting 2-3 year improvements in a year by any means necessary.
Facts.
That's what's up. That's what's up, fellas.
I mean, that energy, man, on teaching kids how to. I say it all the time, man. Kindergarten through 2nd grade, kids are learning to read. 3rd and up, they're reading to learn. So if you got kids in grades 3 and up, they're still in the phase of learning to read. You need to make sure you do the work to teach them how to read because the text, not the story, which is hey, people call stuff stories when it's not a story. The text that they read, right? They're reading that to learn. Those articles and things that they're reading are to apply the knowledge they need, but they got to learn to read first. You can't understand theme and main idea and author's purpose if you cannot read and comprehend.
If I don't know how to boil the water, I ain't gonna ever be able to make spaghetti.
Come on now.
Right. That's right. That's right.
So I know we a little bit over the time, but like I said, it's our first show back, so we wanted to go a little bit extra because we on that National Charter School Conference presentation energy too.
That fire.
So,
that fire.
But we got 2 shows this summer. We're gonna do the administrator as a master teacher for show, and then we're gonna run it back. We got to do a show about literacy and teaching kids to read. Because I mean, like for me, reading basically, I mean, it's a civil right for me. Like if a kid came, my grandmother told me, if you could read, can't nobody stop you.
Man, come on.
So
Mary McLeod Bethune said, once I learned to read, the world opened. So
right. So we got to wrap the show quick because my laptop about to die here.
And he about to go to the pool, y'all.
We definitely hitting the pool. So we're gonna do a quick, wrap around, what I'm saying, final thoughts. So we're gonna go in the order we always go in. So Dad, we're gonna have you kick it off.
Hey man, it's just good to be back, man. Good to be in the space with you all. Appreciate all the folks in the comments. Excited about season 2. Got a lot of great things happening. Hope y'all rock with us. Continue to share this video and our other videos. And man, it's just been great, man. I'm looking forward to season 2.
Yeah, it's been great. First year was amazing to connect with y'all and grow as a leader and just be part of this community. And just want to give some encouragement to those that are listening out there. If you got kids at home, if you got kids in their neighborhood, make sure you read with them. Read with them. That's my takeaway. I'm getting ready to go read with my kids as soon as we finish.
There we go.
For me, man, I'm just happy to be back in this space. Like I said, we was gone for about 5 weeks or so. You really couldn't tell though. But to be back with the fellas doing our thing, man, it's super excited. We took a little bit of break because the school year kind of got wrapped up for everybody. But taking the time to just self-care and get our minds right to get ready for season 2. I'm super geeked. We're gonna be back in 2 weeks talking about the administrator as the master teacher. That's gonna be the show in 2 weeks, live from Cancun. So I'm gonna make sure I carve out that time. That we come live from Cancun. So make sure you check us out. And then the thing we talked about engaging and keeping kids engaged throughout the summer. So if you check us out by Sunday, we're going to drop on the Twitter feed and in the Facebook feed some resources on what parents can do to keep their kids engaged so that summer loss doesn't take place. So we're going to collaborate, put together a list of some things that you can do. I'm going to tell you off the top, the thing I did for my daughter, from the time she was in kindergarten all the way through 7th grade was Summer Bridge books. They're about $20 at Barnes & Noble. I mean, it's worth the investment. And then Khan Academy, I'm a huge pusher of Khan Academy. So, but we're going to put together a list of resources to put out there to parents by Sunday on the Twitter feed and on the Facebook page. So you have been listening to episode 21, season 2. We back with a vengeance. Check us out in 2 weeks. The master teacher as the administrator. We out.
Peace.
Peace.